Welcome back to Built to Last. I'm Ted Bennett, and today we're in Wheeling, West Virginia, checking out the Wheeling Suspension Bridge. When the world changes, there is no turning back. The Wheeling Suspension Bridge revolutionized bridge design, proving suspension bridge technology on a monumental scale. Now, this is not to say that stepping an industry forward is easy or on a straight line. Oh no. The Wheeling Suspension Bridge met challenges and an opposition on an equally monumental scale. By 1818, the national road starting in Cumberland, Maryland had reached Wheeling, Virginia. Yes, I said Virginia. Remember, pre-Civil War era here. At Wheeling, westbound Conestoga wagons had to board a ferry to cross the Ohio River. These ferries were both time-consuming and made dangerous by cross-traffic from steamboats plying up and down the Ohio River. Previous attempts to bridge the Ohio languished because design technology could not span far enough to maintain riverboat traffic. But in 1847, a new charter was granted to the Wheeling and Belmont Bridge Company by the states of Ohio and Virginia, breathing new life into the idea of a bridge to cross the Ohio River at Wheeling. Immediately, the bridge company requested proposals and received two from up-and-coming bridge designers, John A. Roebling and Charles Ellet Jr. Roebling's design called for a pier in the middle of the Ohio River, but also provided a higher vertical clearance above the water. Ellet's proposal was selected. Ellet proposed the longest clear-spanning bridge ever attempted at 1,010 feet from tower to tower. Ellet, schooled at the famous École Nationale for Bridges and Roads in France, along with years of experience on navigational projects along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, possessed the right qualifications for this project. Ellet was just coming off of his first 358-foot suspension bridge span in Philadelphia, and another suspension was just underway crossing the Niagara Gorge. Ellet's design called for 97 feet of clearance from the bottom of the bridge to low water in the Ohio River. Clearance for river traffic became the legal issue, threatening the very existence of the bridge. Steamboats traveling up and down the Ohio River evolved using taller and taller chimneys for greater and greater speed. Steamboats claimed the existence of a bridge over the river impeded free navigation of the Ohio River, forcing steamboats with 60-foot tall chimneys to drop their chimneys to pass under the bridge during periods of high water. Nevertheless, construction started in 1847 and the bridge was completed by 1849. The location of the bridge, as selected by Ellet, was key, balancing the clear span that didn't put an obstacle in the river while maintaining and maximizing vertical clearance of the bridge over the water. A good bridge placed in the right spot is hard to beat. Today's Interstate 70 bridge, running just north of the Wheeling Suspension Bridge, required a major tunnel on the West Virginia approach to the bridge. Ellet planned the bridge to suit the service of both the National Road and the Ohio River traffic concurrently. The completion of the bridge marked the opening of the National Road, U.S. Route 40, into Ohio. Economic interests in Pittsburgh were not all that excited about the bridge. Pittsburghers saw the National Road bypassing south of Pittsburgh and the B&O Railroad advancing toward Wheeling as threats to Pittsburgh's stranglehold connection to the west. Up to that point, goods traveled from Pittsburgh up and down the Ohio River to and from Cincinnati and Louisville. The steamboat and shipping lobbies pushed the state of Pennsylvania to sue for the Wheeling Suspension Bridge's modification or removal. Over the next 7 years, the battle waged on. While the bridge's legality was in question, in 1852 a tornado destroyed the deck and suspension cables. The Wheeling Bridge Company and Ellet were determined to rebuild the bridge, despite the legal challenges and this engineering setback. The bridge was rebuilt, again yet stronger. The Supreme Court eventually ruled in favor of the state of Pennsylvania, requiring the bridge to be removed or modified. But the bridge company appealed to Congress in 1856 and had the bridge ruled legal as constructed. The fight on the bridge's legality was finally settled. As I put together this episode, I thought a lot about what makes the Wheeling Suspension Bridge so revolutionary. I struggled with the fact that the initial bridge was destroyed, but a setback does not mean the whole project is a failure. Built to last can be an iterative process. We must remember that these engineers were working with first principle physics, and design knowledge that we take for granted today. It didn't even exist back then, in a time when bridges were built with only a knowledge of material strengths. Ellet had no guide for how to do something that had never been done before. And just like we engineers do today, Ellet designed for what he could predict, which isn't perfect, even today. To account for the unknowns, Ellet provided a safety factor on the order of 3 to 5. And sure, the flexibility of the bridge was an initial problem, but one Ellet resolved so that future engineers could strengthen it with better technology. The important takeaway is that the bridge was truly a major step forward, and yes, failure is unfortunate, but an industry cannot step forward without failure. Henry Petrosky wrote a fascinating book called To Engineer is Human, explaining the value of failures and pushing an industry forward. Ellet and Bridge Company rebuilding the Wheeling Bridge in short order further advanced suspension bridge technology. The Wheeling suspension bridge has been modified and repaired numerous times, each adding new technology like Roebling cable stays and a steel house truss and metal decking, along with other changes to increase load resistance and maintain the Wheeling suspension bridge's operation. Today, the bridge is closed to roadway traffic due to challenges with overweight vehicles trying to cross the bridge. However, I'm confident that this bridge will reopen someday when technology to strengthen the bridge and pressure to cross the Ohio River mount again to push to open the bridge. The Wheeling Suspension Bridge has been called the most significant remaining bridge from the pre-Civil War era. I would argue this is probably the oldest significant remaining bridge in America. The Wheeling Suspension Bridge paved the way for long-span suspension bridges up and down the Ohio River, proving railroads, highways, and river traffic could coexist. Ellet recognized the challenges in such a revolutionary bridge and designed for loadings that served this bridge well into this century. Today, we're just at another one of those pivotal moments in the life of the Wheeling Suspension Bridge before it again gets strengthened to meet today's needs. The initial drive to cross the Ohio River at Wheeling did change engineering forever, and all the efforts to keep this bridge evolving over the last 175 years have truly made the Wheeling Suspension Bridge built to last.